Welcome to the Ola Hawatmeh Show on American One. My special guest today, Tom Izzo, talking about what's new in politics. Well, a certain mugshot. Up next, stay tuned. With me today, Tom Izzo, talking about what's new in politics, a certain mugshot that's been released, and everyone has gone nuts. Tom, thank you for coming on today.
Hey, thank you, Ola. So, yeah, pretty interesting, huh? Seeing that mugshot.
But I will give him credit. He's pretty smart for what he did. He made his profile picture beforehand, knowing that he'll be attacked. I actually don't mind that approach, but what they're doing, I mean, the double standard, I mean, it's so disgusting. That word describes it well. Disgusting.
Well, it's backfiring for sure. I've seen just so much stuff out there now. There's memes out there. There's people doing reaction videos all over YouTube. It's backfiring on them, and it's the pure hypocrisy that's backfiring, right? I remember Stacey Abrams clearly saying the election was fixed. That's why she lost the gubernatorial race, right? Nothing happened to her. She didn't get indicted. Hillary Clinton said the same thing. She didn't get indicted. So it's backfiring. People are starting to understand now. I think what concerns me the most is now they're actually telling us, if you don't comply with what we're asking you to do, then we'll affect your life.
What's crazy is, do you realize how many Board of Elections commissioners were arrested? Like in New York alone, were caught with mail-in ballots. And I mean, in Rensselaer County, in several counties in my district when I ran. I mean, this is a fact. It's not a conspiracy theory. And forget the fact that, him saying that the election was rigged. What about Hillary Clinton's, erasing her emails and her computer, and what Biden and Hunter have done? Where's the accountability there? There's absolutely no accountability. But now let's crucify Trump for his statements, not looking. Someone asked me on social media, let's get into a debate, Ola. I said, fine. What exactly has President Trump done to hurt your business or your life? And they sit there, with the same stupid comment. And I'm like, I can list from A to Z everything that that President Biden, I don't even want to call him our president, but Biden has done to hurt and destroy our country, from his administration to the puppet masters that control him. Do you agree?
No, I agree 100%. And they're making it very clear, that you can disagree with us if you want, you can fight us if you want, but we'll weaponize whatever resources we have to wreck you, right? We'll destroy your life, we'll wreck you financially. For the longest time, they were saying there were conspiracy theories. It's a conspiracy theory. Back, 10 years ago, Alex Jones, guys like, and some of the stuff he says, even then, I was like, this guy's out of his mind. But, you look at what's happening now, they painted the conspiracy theory thing long enough for them to, in my opinion, put their plan together. And now what they're doing is they're exposing it, because they're so far along that plan that they're ready for us to see what they're doing. And when you start going after parents for standing up against school boards because they don't want their kids at 5 years old, 6 years old, being told, if you're a boy, it's okay if you want to be a girl, without the parents' consent. And when you push back on it, then they threaten to make the parents a domestic terrorist. When we've got,
I completely agree,
cartel members coming across the border clearly wearing body armor. I live in Texas, right? I see the pictures that these cartel members now are coming across the border with body armor, carrying full automatic weapons. That's how bold, right, everybody's getting.
Absolutely. There are no boundaries. There are no ethical boundaries anymore. And finally, there's some, officials, some congresswomen, a couple in New York, are questioning the feds as to all these illegal immigrants that are coming in. But I'm glad that you brought up the subject of, our children with this new trans generation getting hormone blockers, estrogen at the age of 11, 12, doctors acting like they're God. You are not God. You know, God created us in his image. If you're a guy, if you're a boy or a girl, not, you know, whatever they call themselves, but it's so sad. It really is.
Yeah, no, it is. And it's getting worse. You know, there's a couple songs that come to mind. There's two of them
Uh-oh.
by the band Disturbed, right? There's one called Down with the Sickness and one called Voices. And if you really listen
How
to the
does it
lyrics,
go?
well, you know, the people who've listened to those songs, you know, one song's about a sadistic mother who abuses her children and just makes their life miserable, which, you know, you could argue is what the government's doing, right? Like we're
Mhm.
the kids and they're just constantly just beating us over and over and over into
So
submission.
true.
Like, holy cow, like I'm
So
tired of it. And we're getting to the point, you know, to where we're tired of it and people are starting to speak out, you know. And it's like I hear these songs that these musicians make, and these songs have been around for a really long time. But when you really listen to the lyrics, I know they weren't meant directed towards the government, but it was directed towards society as a whole, right? It really talks about
yep.
society. What's scary is that it's starting to come to fruition now, and we're starting to see all of these things that we thought would never happen. You know, what would if we told ourselves back and, you know, I'm an 80s kid, right? I'm a
Yep.
Generation X kid. So I don't know what I would have thought back then if somebody said, we're going to start telling 6-year-olds that they can change their sex. I mean, how would we have responded to that 30, 40 years ago? Right. And I mean, I'm not, by all comparison, I'm not old, right? But I grew up in a generation where we were very much aware of what was right and what was wrong. Um,
Yep.
and we understood that you had to go get what you wanted. And, you know,
Absolutely.
those commercials back in the day, you know, it's 10 p.m. that the news stations would play. Hey, it's 10 p.m. Do you know
So
where your kids
true.
are?
Oh my gosh.
I remember those commercials, but
Yep.
that's because we were just allowed to just go out there and do what we wanted to do. And we weren't worried about all this stuff that was going on.
That's so true. You bring up a lot of great points because it's like, I mean, MTV at the age of 13, like there were some rules and boundaries. Now it's like there are no boundaries and there are no rules, and everything that America was founded on is completely being washed away. And there are true patriots like yourself that are standing strong, that won't fold and refuse to allow our children be subjected to such nonsense, what's happening in America. And that's what I say. We never give up. We have to speak out and stand strong, because what's happening is not right. It's completely an attack, and it's socialism, communism. I mean, you name it. It's taking over America.
Right. And we have a failing healthcare system. You know, I understand how
How
that
can
hurts
America
people.
have a failing health system? I mean, how? We're in America.
Well, because we're giving $24 billion again
Exactly.
to Ukraine, right? I mean, we're giving money to everybody else. We
Not
want to give the
insane.
people in Maui $700. Like Biden thought that was we gave him $700, and the next day you turn around and you give $24 billion to the Ukraine. I mean, what kind of message does that send?
Still
You've got people
insane.
in Los Angeles that are living on the streets that don't
Yep.
have a home. They're it's to the point where they're saying it's okay if you want to do your drugs, because what else can you do at this point? But we're giving money to all the wrong places.
I know we're putting others before ourselves, before our own country. I mean, forget Los Angeles, right under their nose in Washington, D.C., living in tents. I mean, have you ever seen a politician go out there and actually look at the conditions of these people and how they're living? No. They want to be a savior and save the world by giving, even though we're so much in debt. But let's give Ukraine. And God forbid if we open our mouth to say, you know, how dare you? What about us? So they call us inhumane.
Mhm. Well, you know, the politicians want to hide behind those walls they have built around their houses, right? To protect them from the people outside that are living in the
Yes.
streets, right? Um, but they don't want us to have that same protection. So I think everyone is starting to realize it. But the thing is now they've fooled everybody for so long that it's too late. to reverse it. Now everybody has to really start getting out, and they have to vote, and they really have to not be afraid to vote. And the biggest thing that concerns me is when I hear somebody say, well, I really don't want Biden to win, but if Trump gets a nomination, I don't think I'm going to vote. Well, that's not the answer, because you're going to have to pick the lesser of two evils unless you want to go through another cycle of this, because I don't think Biden getting into office would be a good idea. So if you would rather not vote for Biden, but you're not a fan of Trump if he wins, or if you're not a fan of DeSantis, whoever it is that gets a nomination, well, you really need to vote, because too many people are going to sit idle, I think is what it sounds like right now, because I think everybody's so disgusted and they don't think their vote matters. Because how can it matter when you see somebody like Biden get more votes than any other president in history? Like, how is it possible to get more votes than from what people are saying are actually people to vote?
That's so true. That is so true.
Doesn't make any sense, right?
With that said, what do you feel is next for President Trump?
Well, the ultimate FU to everybody would be, say he does get thrown in jail and he gets elected and he exonerates himself and he gets out.
That's what the Trump 2024 crowd is saying.
Think about that. Think about that. I mean,
even,
you can run for president with a felony charge. There's nothing that says you can't run for president with a felony charge. So
it's shocking.
And there's nothing that says, I guess that there's a lot of people out there saying he can still run, even if he does get indicted and he does get convicted, he can still run. So I don't know. I'm not a lawyer. I'm not an attorney. I don't know that much about the laws and the voting laws and all that. But if that's true, what then would they do? What else would they do? Would they start weaponizing militaries and the National Guard?
There's so many people that aren't even fans of Trump, and they once that picture got released, I mean, this is just so injustice to do something like this. I mean, it's just so injustice, and it's so unfair, and it's so disturbing. So I'm glad. I remember when I got the pic. I mean, well, when I saw it, we were messaging each other, and I'm like, oh my gosh. I mean, we're just like so fumed at what's happening, because we take it personal. I mean, if this is happening right in front of us and we have no say, what's going to happen next? What's next for us? And that's what's scary. The future of America, it really is scary. And hopefully there's this can wake people up. I don't know. I mean, it can go both ways. So the election that's coming up is very intense. Let's briefly talk about the debate. Who is your top picks?
So let me start with who's not. So I think Asa Hutchinson should go back to his criminal DOJ, right, and be the rhino that he is. I think Chris Christie needs to go sit back on the beach with his family, where he got caught during COVID. I think Mike Pence needs to go sit back in the corner with his dunce hat on, because I don't understand what he's trying to do. I mean, he was there the whole time everything was going on. And all of a sudden now that the tide's changed and he wants to run for president. And he was doing this up to the run. He knew what he was going to do.
Yep.
Nikki Haley, go sit next to Dan Crenshaw at the WEF forum, right? Because that's where you belong. You don't belong on that stage. I like Vivek. I think Vivek would be a good vice president, in my opinion.
Yep.
Ron DeSantis, I'm from Florida originally. So he was there while I was there as governor. He did a great job, still is, as governor of Florida. But I think he's got some work to do still with Florida. And I think, Florida is a big swing state. And I think with the rate that Florida is growing and now the issues with Disney and everything else that's going on, I don't think they can afford to lose him.
No.
Quite honestly. And I don't even remember the other guys. I don't even remember. So, I mean, good cabinet members. They seem like nice.
Relevant at all. I mean,
But
I think I totally agree with you completely. Kennedy Jr. I mean,
I like him.
I do too.
You like him?
I
Yeah.
do. I do. I'm hoping that, we'll wait to see what is to come with President Trump. Thank you for your input. Thanks so much for coming on, Tom. Always hilarious and always we're on the same page. You have a good day and we'll do this again next week. Have a wonderful day.
Thanks, Nola.